God is good and July is here. The newsletter from Visionary Realms came with it, and here we are with class reveals for the 3 healer type classes in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing if you're interested in Pantheon Rise of the Fallen and would like to be entertained with Pantheon related content as we march towards launch. Also, as a forewarning, I am currently devoting a lot of time to an animated Pantheon cartoon that will hopefully be done just in time for release right after I finish my 3 videos talking about each of these healer classes. But anyway, let's get to it. Today I want to start with the Cleric, as that is the class my wife plans to play, and it sounds like a pure healer class, but with some awesome twists, as we would all expect, dealing with the Pantheon, because all of the class reveals so far have seemed to have some, which is great. First off, of course, the Cleric's role is, of course, healer, support, and utility. The combat resource for the Cleric will be mana, celestial power, or celestial bond. As far as the combat resource goes, the Cleric gains celestial power either in percentages from healing or from certain abilities will increase the celestial power as well. The Cleric's armor will be full plate mail and able to use 1-hand blunt, 2-hand blunt, celestial tomes, and shields. Now let's get to the juicy stuff, the abilities. Favor of the Order. This is a passive ability that makes your melee attacks come back as a percentage of a heal for the Cleric. So basically you hit stuff, you gain some heals, right? Conviction. Another passive ability that basically means as long as the Cleric has Celestial Bond, their heals can't be interrupted and they're able to heal while stunned. So definitely should be thankful for this, as without it many deaths would probably occur. Being stunned is a definite crap situation for a healer standing there frozen, spanning the hill to no avail. Looks like this won't be a problem as long as the Cleric has a Celestial Bond with the target they are healing. Resilient Pages. Yet another passive ability. If the Cleric is holding or has a Celestial Tome active, and as long as the Cleric's wisdom is higher than the enemy's, then a percentage of the incoming damage to the Cleric will be reduced. I'm too smart for that to hurt, says the Cleric. You know, I just have to say I've been smarter than my opponent most of the time, and I gotta say it still hurts when they land one on me. I need this passive in my life. Celestial Focus, the final passive, and this is an epic skill. While meditating, the Cleric will not only generate mana, but also celestial power. So when you see your Cleric meditating during the fight, you know they're basically powering themselves up, not just gaining mana, but also generating the celestial power for another onslaught of those good juicy heals. White Light. This ability is for undead, just as the Paladin, whom comes from the same order as the Cleric, has abilities and benefits when fighting the undead. It is only to be expected the Cleric would get some goodies versus the undead as well. Basically, with White Light, the Cleric causes a powerful pure light attack on the undead, which is a significant dot damage over time, and also causes the targeted undead to begin attacking another undead enemy for a period of time. Very awesome. If you have read into or watched my video on the Paladin, you're going to see as we continue through this video that a Cleric Pally combo against the undead is just going to be devastating and awesome. Tome of the Initiate. So this manifests a tome for the Cleric to carry, as we talked about before. Now obviously from the name of the Initiate, this is a low level tome. But as the Cleric levels up this ability, which we assume based on what we know will be done through questing, through the perception system and exploring the world and finding out there somewhere, Google searching, the Cleric will eventually wield better tomes, more powerful tomes, and this ability will change to the Tome of the Masterly Scholar or some such. Keep in mind that this ability will be necessary to do abilities such as Resilient Pages, passive skill that we just talked about. That means that if the Cleric has more wisdom than the enemy's attacks are reduced. But basically, Tome of the Initiate is the original OG skill that the Cleric will get to manifest or create a tome to carry. Resurrect. What sort of Cleric would you be without the ability to bring your comrades back to life? As I would expect in an MMO of Pantheon's caliber, not only does the Resurrect ability welcome a fallen friend back to the land of the living with a bit of help, it also restores a portion of the lost experience they suffered as a penalty to dying. Being resurrected though, I mean come on, that's got some side effects. Res Sickness will be applied to the Wraith's friend. Also, the Resurrect ability can only be used out of combat. That brings us to the next ability you really need to know about, which is Plea of the Devout. This is the res for when the cleric is in battle. It also does not cause resurrection sickness and will restore 80% of the allies' max health and mana. Only usable in combat. I find this one kind of bizarre, but I think I see the trade-off. So basically, unless I'm missing something, it would be better for a group to go ahead and pull another mob just to get the cleric in battle so they could cast Plea of the Devout instead of Resurrect. I mean, Resurrect causes res sickness and appears to not restore as much health or mana as Plea of the Devout. However, the trade-off, it looks like to me, is that if you use Resurrect out of battle, yes, you get res sickness, but you gain back a percentage of the experience loss you got from death. So I think that's the trade-off there. You lose some experience, but you get right back to fighting, or you don't lose the experience. And also, you got to think there's different situations than just you and your group, okay? That's something I need you to understand, because we've gotten so used to instanced MMOs, I think, that we're always thinking of our group only. Now, clerics will be out resurrecting people that weren't in the group, right? So I don't think it'll be possible for a cleric to be able to do Plea of the Devout on someone that is not in their party. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong, because we've got raids with different groups. I could definitely be wrong about that. But it seems like, when I'm thinking of it in my head at least, that Resurrect will also, you got to consider that they'll be using that on a random person lying dead, or someone who calls, hey, we don't have a res. Could we get somebody out here to resurrect this guy, etc., etc. Especially at high levels where losing, whatever the penalty will be, 1%, 5%, 10%, who knows, it could stack, who knows, but that is devastating at a high level where it's already, that's a ton of experience to lose. So people will sit around and wait till the very last second, hoping a cleric or another healer will come res them. So that's worth keeping in mind. But anyway, moving on. Celestial Aegis. This allows the cleric to summon a massive shield made of light that can be placed down or even carried for a short bit, and basically while the shield is up, no enemy can pass through it. So when the pool goes sour and 6 high-end mobs come with it and the group begins to panic, cleric throw down that shield and make some space between us and them. Very awesome. I can't wait to see this ability in action. Awaken Bravery. This is a buff that increases the maximum health and armor class for an ally. Very awesome. Ethereal Armor. This basically casts Armor of Light on an ally. This increases their defense in such a way as making physical attacks done to that ally able to glance, in turn doing less damage. Signet of Refreshing. Now this ability, in my opinion, is going to make clerics absolutely loved by everybody. If you're thinking of rolling a cleric, I need you to soak this one in. I need you to really let this go in your ear and stick to your brain and hold it there. Savor it and love it. This ability improves the accumulation of your entire group's unique combat resources for a short time. Did you hear me? Every class has a resource for battle. They all need it to do their cool stuff, and the clerics can make it accumulate group-wide. Freaking awesome, man. Edict of Stillness. Crowd control against a single target, basically pacifying an enemy so they are unresponsive to anything happening around them, unless of course they're directly engaged. Nobody hit the guy with the little squigglies over his head. He's stunned. Don't break the mez. Edict of Peace. This is great to cool down the hate-generating mage who just won't chill out on the massive damage. A cleric can pop this on them, and bam, their activities generate less aggro during the duration of their ability. Light of Merrik. You need a tome summon to do this ability. So this is the cleric's cool little out of battle type ability, kind of like the rogue can toss down the ropes, the warrior can bash through barriers. Well, the cleric with a tome can light up their tome, causing a supernatural light source, giving visibility in areas with supernatural darkness, which is very, very, very deadly, by the way, to not be able to see. So lead the way, cleric. Alamaze Blessing. Basically, this purges powerful curses. Rebuke. A celestial power attack that does divine damage, and if used against the undead, also has damage over time effects. Revile Undeath. A smite attack on an undead enemy, inflicting high damage and reducing their movement speed by a percentage for a short time. Sounds like the cleric will be pulling the undead mobs. Alright, now let's talk about the melee abilities. There's not a lot, but the cleric does get a couple of melee abilities, so let's discuss them. Determined Strike. This is an attack that causes physical damage plus some divine damage. The higher your wisdom, the more divine damage this attack will do. Searing Cudgel. This attack can be charged, and the longer the cleric charges it, the more damage it will do. Undead mobs will take additional divine damage based on the cleric's strength and wisdom stats. Now let's talk about the meat of the abilities for a cleric, the healing abilities. And I know this is what you've been waiting for, how the cleric is going to do what a cleric does best, heal. Let's get to it. Celestial Light. This heals an ally, and if your ally is below 30% health, then this ability will manifest a Celestial Guard, which increases that ally's armor by a percentage of their armor class for a few seconds. If the Light Shroud is also active on this target, Celestial Light will refresh its duration. Wow, that's a heal, man. Burst of Life. This is the cleric's quick heal, which heals for a high amount, and since it's fast, and since it heals a lot, it's probably a mana drainer. Light Shroud. This is the one that you want to combine with the Celestial Light, by the way. This will be the cleric's heal over time ability, and it shrouds the ally in restorative light, healing them over time on ticks, and is a single target and can only be used on one target at a time. Arcing Luminance. This instantly restores some of the cleric's health. Then it jumps to 2 additional group members, and as it jumps, healing a percentage more each jump. And after the second group member is healed, the cleric gets healed again for the same amount as the second person received. How much is healed is based on the cleric's wisdom stat. Echo's Purifying Bolt. This is a bolt of purifying light into an undead enemy, which inflicts divine damage, and then the ability then jumps to heal your defensive target, because remember, you can have a defensive and an offensive target at once. So divine damage to the offensive target, and then jumps to heal the defensive target for an amount equal to the damage dealt to the undead target. The healing will also attempt to cure poisons and diseases. Do some damage, heal your tank, purify your tank of debuffs. That's pretty awesome. Reckon's Shield. This is basically a bubble that reduces all incoming damage by percentage for a duration of time. Reckon's Barrier. Reckon's Shield can be evolved into Reckon's Barrier, which increases the amount of damage reduction and also critical hits against the target while the Reckon's Barrier is active. It will also heal the target for a percentage of the damage done. Wraith's Luminous Shield. This ability will heal your ally for an amount equal to the cleric's max health. Vigilance. Okay, so the cleric marks the target. While marked, that ally that is marked receives healing equal to a percentage of the group's damage they are taking, converting it into healing for that marked target. Very cool. Coalescence. Okay, so this one can go 2 ways. Basically what it does is it takes between yourself, the cleric, and your defensive target, whomever has the highest HP. This ability increases that person's HP to the amount of the person with the highest HP. So basically, if the cleric has more HP than the target would gain the same amount of HP as the cleric. However, if the target has more HP than the cleric, then the cleric's HP would raise to equal the amount of the target. And that wraps it up, guys, for the cleric. What do you think? I think they sound like the most devoted to healing and being a pure healer out of the 3, or the purest, I should say, healer of the 3. And with their abilities against the undead, paired with the Paladin's abilities against the undead. I mean, it's just going to be awesome in the graveyards of Terminus, man. My wife is all ready to go as a cleric, and now that we know more information, I am very happy for her because this ability set is fantastic. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be making a video on the druid next. I'll have it out by Saturday, hopefully. Until next time, guys, God bless and happy gaming.